Hello. So good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to our session this afternoon all around inclusivity in retail. And how lucky are we today to be joined by Rachael, who is, I'm going to get your job title right now, Diversity, Engagement and Inclusion Manager at Charlotte Tilbury. So thank you so much for joining us, Rachael.
Thank you for having me.
I pass over to Rachael for a proper introduction into her role. For those of you that don't know OpenBlend, just a real quick one. So I'm the founder and CEO of OpenBlend. We're a next generation performance management tool that supports the right conversations between managers and employees. Now, we've got a big footprint in retail. We work with Dr Martens, Gymshark, Superdry, Bellstar, Vivo Barefoot, Lacoste. So we've got lots of retail customers. So we do quite a lot around the retail space, hence why we've launched it out. Because I think, people like Rachael who are thought leaders and innovative in her space, like this is a great opportunity and a great platform to share all of that. So that's what this series is all about. It's just about sharing some knowledge about a subject matter which is so important and very, very high up on everybody's agenda. So that's why we're putting them on. So the session is 20 minutes. Any questions you've got, please put them in the comments and we'll try our best to get through those. So always short on time in these sessions, so I'm going to kick straight off. Rachael, can you tell us a little bit more about you and about your role at Charlotte Tilbury?
Of course. And again, thank you so much for having me today. I know I said this when we caught up earlier this week, but it's such an honor to be included. And also, I think it's just so amazing to see what you're doing. So talking about getting this message out there and creating those opportunities for conversation. And yeah, really excited for, what is only 18 minutes left?
I know.
I'm so quickly. So a little bit about me. I'll talk more about my career history here at Charlotte Tilbury, otherwise I'll give away my age. But I actually started here as an EA, so as an executive assistant to a really amazing woman who is now our chief commercial officer. And I think for me, I've always been really passionate about people and about what makes them tick, and also about why they want to work somewhere and how they feel when they're here. So as an EA, that really was the main part of my role was helping the person that I support, but also helping her team to be the best versions of themselves. And that's really what we're all about here at Charlotte Tilbury, is helping people to feel and be empowered to be their most authentic, amazing self here in the workplace. And then I think what's amazing is the business launched a dedicated role in inclusivity, which is really cool. I think lots of businesses are now doing this, which is amazing to see, because these roles were around before, but they were always sort of included into something else. So it was really amazing now that we have a separate function all around diversity and inclusivity and engagement, which is the role I'm in now. So that's sort of my career history here. I've been here, I'd be what is considered like a fossil, because we're 10 years old as a brand, but I've been here for almost 5. So I think that really is testament to really our commitment to nurturing the people that we have inside the business and growing our internal talent, not only because they know so much about the brand, but also that's what brings diversity of perspective into different teams, is when we bring people from different functions, because you have that brand knowledge, but then also people with those different experiences. So that's a little bit about me and my role. I focus on all things diversity and inclusivity and engagement. So this includes obviously diversity and inclusion, but also well-being, because we know that these two are so interconnected, because positive mental health and well-being is created in environments of psychological safety, where people can be resilient. And in order to feel safe and resilient, you need to feel included and like you belong. So really what my mission is to help people to feel like they belong here, help them to be the best version of themselves. This does include lots of learning and development opportunities as well, raising awareness through education moments, running our ERGs in this space, and also just sort of driving that mission forward with our senior leadership team. So coming to them with challenges that we're seeing in the market or things that we're seeing out there that we need to be doing here in Charlotte Tilbury. You'll know us as a brand. We're very fast-paced, high-achieving, always wanting to be number one. So really our goal in this space is to be those thought leaders, those disruptors and innovators in D&I. We're starting to see this in our campaigns. But really what we know is it starts from within, which is why roles like mine, I believe, are really important. And even though our goal is to do ourselves out of a job, hopefully, within that mission in this ever evolving landscape, that won't always be the case. So yeah, just really supporting our teams to be their best selves is my main aim here.
Can I ask a question about the size of your team? How many people are in the inclusion, engagement, diversity team?
Of course. So there's 2 of us specifically focused on diversity and engagement and inclusion at the moment. 2 years ago, there was 1. So amazing that we've grown. We do have a head of, but he oversees us all in terms of learning and development along with inclusion, because we know that it's so important to educate the business in this space. So there's 2 of us laser focused on this, but wholly a team delivering these moments, there's actually 4. So amazing, really, that the business has dedicated such resource to this mission.
When I was chatting to you, we caught up earlier this week, and what I love about your route through, so you started as an EA, moved into L&D, didn't you, next, and then moved into the inclusion role and the D&I role. And I think that is it, because you've got quite, and I think this is quite an interesting thing to debate when, as an organisation, you're bringing someone into that role, because you've got the role and the principles of D&I, and then you've got the culture. That you're working in, and the matching of those 2 is quite a unique thing, isn't it? So it's really important the way you've come through. You've been in that company, you know the challenges, you've been in a role, and you can see it through a different lens. Anything to talk to that at all?
Absolutely. And I think the lens especially is what you mentioned there. And I think seeing that from those different areas within the business, and also having a good understanding of stakeholder management. I think most people in my profession will know that really the key to our success and the key to driving this change forward within businesses is that leadership, advocacy, and commitment. So having that experience in how to connect with our leaders, how to show the value of what it is we're trying to do, and also how to show them that cultural change and shift in behaviors is actually going to drive not only that bottom line, but really bring in those people that we want to see come into work here. Because like I say, for us, it's all about the feeling people feel when they go into our stores, when they wear our products or use them. And especially for what I'm doing here, because we have a whole education team that looks after our retail artists, which we'll talk about in a bit, I'm sure. It's how people feel when they come to work here. So that intersect between understanding, delivering of information, understanding the cosmos of a culture, and then having that understanding of what it means to be a diverse and inclusive workforce, I think is a really important marry up.
Yeah, I think actually what you just said there, just to highlight this out for anyone listening, I think is really important, is navigating through the stakeholder management, ensuring that there's a voice. And absolutely, if you've been in the business, you've come up through the business, you know that how to do that with more wisdom, which I think is great. Okay, first big question. What do you think, in your experience, are some of the unique challenges when it comes to inclusivity in retail?
So I think for me, I was obviously thinking about my answers here, and I've pronged us into three sort of areas. So one is campaigns, which I think we all know about. So what is that inclusivity element in our campaigns and the message that we're putting out there for people coming to work for us or for people shopping with our products? I think that's a real challenge, is challenging the aesthetic of a brand and a business, along with being representative of what we see out there in the market. And I'm really proud of our, 2 particular campaigns this year that we've launched, which is our Pillow Talk Party campaign and our Airbrush Bronzer campaign, which was our first sort of foray into body diversity. And we as a business really hero diversity in our campaigns. So for me, those 2 were real transformative moments. I think product innovation. So ensuring that we're always at the forefront of product. Oh yeah. The second prong. Sorry. Second prong. Yeah. Like a plug, 3-prong plug.
It's more glamorous than a plug, but anyway, product innovation.
And then product innovation I think is really key. So thinking about making sure that we're always testing those products on those different skin types, those different people, those different communities that want to be using them. So skincare, beauty, makeup, complexion, and ensuring that everyone everywhere, which is a real brand mission statement for us, feels like they can wear, use, engage, enjoy our products or talk about them. And then the last bit for me, which I think is probably the most important element for us to talk about today, is that connectivity piece. So with most retail industries, I'm sure other people on the call might understand, but there's a real challenge of that connect between our amazing artists in store and those working in the head office, and how we ensure that the culture, the mission, our purpose is distilled between the two. And then we're all living and breathing the same brand values. We all know that what's important to us is how people feel. So for us in the head office, it's how people feel when they're here. In the store is also, again, how our customers feel when they're working with us, when they come and try our products, or when they leave the store, how they feel. So that's our sort of purpose that we can all align behind. But I think what we often experience is sometimes it's hard to deliver those trainings or get those messages across, because our retail teams will be on different shift patterns, and they'll digest information in a different way to us. So really, for me, it's around that connectivity piece and ensuring that the same message and purpose and mission is permeating throughout every strand of our employee life cycle.
Because it's interesting, isn't it, from the experience perspective? So in OpenBlend, in working with retailers, we actually do quite a lot in hospitality as well, and actually in an airline. So a lot of our companies have 2 different workforces, sometimes 3 different workforces. And actually there's a comms piece, which is about, ensuring that the comms and the learning opportunities are the same across, but also it's because we focus a lot on inclusivity at an individualized level. So between the manager and an employee. So how do you address that? So from a head office where you're in an office all the time, and you've got a nice word for your head office, haven't you? Magic
office, I'm sure that comes as no surprise.
In the magic office, and you're there, and you're at a desk, and you see your managers every day. I don't know what your hybrid working is, but compared to in a store, as you said, where you've got these people that are on shifts, and maybe the turnover of staff is slightly different, and the interrelation between the manager. How do you ensure the conversations that are taking place in those 2 mirror and people have the same experience on a micro and individualized level?
Absolutely. And I think you're so right. This is really, really important, and something that we've been, especially over the last year, doing a big drive in creating synergies between our processes within our head office and our retail teams, because we're one and the same, really. Then we really want to remove this us and them situation, which I think most retail industries will say they have the same, but we want to be under this one umbrella. Obviously, there's different elements of education that we'll need. So they probably don't need to be raising invoices on NetSuite, for example. And we might not need to know artistry skills, depending on what we end up doing. But there are elements that we both need to know, which is how to run a good one-to-one, how to give the art of feedback, how to understand feedback, and also how to grow and personally develop. So for us, it's really important, in our head office, I keep going to say magic office, but I can say that now.
You can say that now. Yeah.
In our magic office, we run a sprint cycle, which is a biannual process where people will have that touch point with their objectives, with their feedback, with their personal development plans. And as you say, you're more likely to have regular one-to-ones with your managers. And this was the disconnect we were seeing with our retail team's development in store. So throughout the course of this year, we've actually launched an amazing new process where they have a monthly touch point with their manager. So it's a monthly one-to-one, which is solely focused around that personal development element, how they're feeling, what support they need, what challenges they're experiencing, as opposed to what it can sort of become in a retail store is around those KPIs and around those sales figures. And then we're aligning them to our biannual sprint process so that we're all aligning to the same values, which is around our strategy compass. And this is really starting to shine through in the last sort of 4 onboardings I've done. I've actually seen amazing retail team members coming through towards the head office and working in here for us. So we're also really supportive of those lateral moves, and also helping our retail teams who want to maybe advance into a different role to do so they're not sort of siloed into an artistry element.
So you mentioned then onboarding. So I'm going to pick up on that because I think, I wanted to talk to you about best practice. And you as an individual are very thoughtful about this whole process, but Charlotte Tilbury as a brand, absolutely, this is key. And in inclusion, if we focus in on that one, but inclusion is everything through the incomplete employee journey, isn't it? And when we chatted the other day, you just come out of an onboarding, and you share with the listeners, because I think it's really great. You've got 3 touch points with people onboarding, haven't you, within their first week, all around inclusion and engagement. Can you share some of that? They're beautiful nuggets.
Oh, thank you. I am so passionate about onboarding because I think for me, all my favorite roles that I've had throughout my career have been where I've been properly onboarded into a business, and I've been given loads of induction meetings. I've been able to attend the onboarding, so I get a real understanding of who the business is and really why I'm there. And I think this is really key. So for us, we onboard our retail teams and our Magic Office teams in the same way. Our retail teams will have a separate session all around their artistry. We call it Charlotte's Magic Academy. So that's like a 4-day full-on information blast on the amazing products and how to use them and what's meaningful about them. But if we talk about our Magic Office onboarding, it is quite an extensive week-long onboarding. But we do, as you say, have those 3 touch points talking about driving forward what our purpose is, because purpose is really important, not only as an individual, but also understanding what the purpose of the business is. Because if you don't know the purpose of why we're all here and what our mission is, it's really hard, I think, to get behind your role and know what you're delivering and what the importance of it is. So, for example, most businesses might not include their customer care teams into their onboarding, but we think it's really important that they're involved because they're the ones speaking to our customers. They're the ones, helping them with their products or answering their questions. So it's really important to us that they sit within the business, that they're part of this onboarding. And then we now also have a module on diversity and inclusivity, which focuses all around conscious inclusion, allyship, as well as inclusive recruitment. Because even if, this is our first touch point with everybody, I actually had someone ask me today, because I delivered it this morning, they've never seen this in another business that they've been in. So that was really touching. But I think
that D&I module that you're talking about there is delivered in their first week of the onboarding.
Yes. Yeah. First week of onboarding.
So powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. And to us, it's really important because if we think about the journey of diversity and inclusivity in any business, there's the inspiration element, which is get people talking about it, create those opportunities. Then there's the permeating, embedding element where it starts to become who we live and breathe. And then there's the element where it's just part of who we are. So we don't really have to even think about it. Of course, with the ever evolving landscape, we always will. But that's sort of the mission. So where we catch people at onboarding, we let them know that this is what it means to work here at Charlotte Tilbury. This is why diversity and inclusivity is not only important to us, but also important to be talking about. And it helps them to feel comfortable to ask the questions and also creates those opportunities for learning. Because I think a lot of what we know with diversity and inclusivity is that people are often afraid. I've been reading a book about, senior white board members who have so much they want to do, but they're really scared because they don't want to get it wrong. Yeah. So hopefully by talking about this at their onboarding, it really fosters those opportunities, to learn. And also the dream is that they'll go back and talk to their colleagues who maybe were onboarded a year ago or did our inclusive recruitment training 6 months ago, and revives that conversation as well as their thinking around our mission and purpose in this area.
We haven't prepped for this question, but
it's okay.
Anyway, how do you, because you do so much great stuff. We're running out of time. I told you it went quick.
Yes.
How do you measure it? How do you measure how inclusive your business is?
Of course. So that was what I wrote down when you asked me what is one of the biggest challenges, or what is it that we need to do more of. So this is the element that we need to improve on. So reporting, we know that this is a big area of opportunity for us. For me, I measure it with our Peak on Engagement survey. So we do already report on this. We ask 6 questions around diversity and inclusivity, and I'm really proud to report that we're on an upwards trajectory in the Drew benchmark. So that's amazing for us. And I'm always really encouraged to see comments from our retail teams, our Magic Office teams, that they're starting to look around the office and see that they belong here. So for me, that's the first sort of measurement around it. But what we need to do more of is looking at our HRIS system and how can we do reporting from there? How can we get people to fill out perhaps ethnicity so we can actually report on who we've got in the business? And also around, we already do our gender pay gap reporting, but we know that ethnicity gap reporting is coming. So that will be the measure, but that is something that definitely is an area of opportunity for us, as well as embedding the learning through our limitless learning system with education opportunities.
Okay, so we've got 60 seconds left.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
At the end, what advice would you give to anyone on this call when it comes to what one piece of advice around driving inclusivity in retail?
This was really tough for me, but I think the one piece of advice is to not be afraid to ask the right questions, and also to make sure that you're doing the right things at the right time. There's so much that you can do, but make sure that you are strategically prioritizing what's important, where you can have impact, and engage with those employee resource groups and ensure that you're speaking both to your stakeholders above, but also the people actually living the experience on the ground as well.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah, we're bang on time. Thank you so much, Rachel. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I don't think we've had any questions so far. We're out of time, so that's all good. Thank you so much, Rachel. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Find out all the brilliant stuff that you're focusing on and clearly so passionate about in Charlotte Tilbury. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was very enjoyable.
All right, thanks. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.